We here at Logitech G absolutely love an indie. Whether it's a cute and cozy survival game, an innovative platformer with an ingenious mechanic, or a haunting horror, it's all grand by us. It's also worth noting that we're expanding our definition of what makes an indie slightly. Even if a game does have a publisher attached, if it still fits the approach and aesthetic of an indie, we're counting it. So, these are just a few upcoming indie games we just can't wait to get our hands on. Let's start with probably the most adorable entry on this list, Burrow. We got our first glimpse at this delightfully quaint little survival game at this year's Xbox showcase, and frankly, we haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. In Burrow, you play as a refugee city mouse who just wants to make his little tree stump home cozy again. That's not too much to ask, is it? You'll be gathering resources and crafting tools whilst trying to uncover the mystery behind your mouse aunt's disappearance. Basically, it's all the brilliance of Don't Starve combined with some cute mice. Try and tell us you don't want that. This next one is undoubtedly our most anticipated indie for the next year, if not of all time. Coming from the brilliant minds behind The Artful Escape, Mixtape looks set to deliver us all of that quirky, coming-of-age goodness that we here at Logitech G just gobble up. Telling the story of three friends going on one last adventure together on their last day of high school, Mixtape combines some gorgeously aesthetic gameplay sequences with an out-of-this-world soundtrack. Like seriously, Roxy Music, Smashing Pumpkins, Joy Division, Iggy Pop. We want to play it all for the songs alone. And of course, what would a coming-of-age story be without standing up in the back of a car with fireworks exploding all around you? Get ready to have your mind blown by Screenbound, the game that turns our constant need to be distracted while doing chores into an entire game mechanic. In Screenbound, you'll be navigating both 2D and 3D planes simultaneously, after being transported into the world of your Quantum Boy, a portable games console that depicts your 3D surroundings as a traditional 2D platformer. To be honest, it's kind of hard to explain with words, so just look. This is a truly unique game that will put your platforming expertise to the test in what the devs are calling the world's first 5D game. And if all that wasn't enough, it even has a level editor, so you can craft entirely new levels in a 2D space, while the 3D space is auto-generated for you. Gosh, all this talk of dimensions is starting to hurt our heads. But if you want a headset that offers unprecedented clarity without hurting your head, then why not check out our Astro A50X Lightspeed wireless headset, bringing you the highest levels of wireless audio performance so you can focus exclusively on navigating dimensions. It wouldn't be a Logitech G list video without a truly terrifying horror game to spice things up a bit. So, enter Fear the Spotlight. This atmospheric third-person horror was one of the many fantastic-looking horror titles we saw from publisher Blumhouse Games at this year's Summer Games Fest. But Fear the Spotlight in particular drew our attention because of its 90s era visual design. Polygons galore. You play as school friends Vivian and Amy who sneak into their school after hours to play with a Ouija board. When has that ever gone well? Things take their sharp turn to the horrific when Amy disappears, and we're thrown into some truly atmospheric puzzle solving and stealthing that promises to be totally free of spontaneous jump scares. It looks like all of those hours spent with the original Silent Hill and Resident Evil games will finally come in handy. Okay, enough with the spookies. Let's calm down now with a lovely little farming game, filled with vibrant colours, peaceful chores, and PTSD.
I'm happy.
Oh, that's right. Wanderstop is from the minds behind the Stanley Parable and Gone Home. Of course everything isn't quite as it seems. You see, protagonist Alta is a retired adventurer who has hung up her sword and shield in exchange for a calming life as a tea farmer. You'll be balancing the many low-stress tasks of tea farming and serving it to passing adventurers. Oh, and there's this big lovely chap to keep you company through it all. We have been desperately waiting with bated breath for this incredible looking indie since we first saw it 2 years ago, and we can't quite believe we're finally getting to play it later this year. The Plucky Squire initially looks to be a charming but simple little adventure game that takes place within a children's storybook. But it's not until the characters leap out from the pages and into the three-dimensional space of the real world that the true depth of this game is revealed. Playing as the dimension-hopping Jot, you can use the elements of the real world to manipulate the puzzles within the storybook, and even explore the surrounding environments in full 3D. And it helps that Unreal Engine 5 has perfectly recreated our childhood bedrooms for Jot to explore, just like we remember it. Let's finish off with a gorgeously peaceful action-adventure that we'd bet good money on winning some awards when it releases later this year. This is Neva, an emotionally charged platformer that tells the story of a young woman and her lifelong bond with a wolf. Yeah, you heard that right. It makes sense that Neva is so beautifully serene as it comes from the developers of Gris, which is hands down one of the most stunning indies we've ever played, and is worth checking out yourself if Neva looks to be up your street. We'll be venturing out on a journey through a decaying world, evolving our relationship and team working skills with our canine companion whilst doing whatever we can to survive and make a new home together. Oh, and we'll be hugging our wolf a lot too. Just try and stop us. Let's face it, it's a good time to be a fan of indie games. That's just 7 of the gorgeous looking indies we're looking forward to. And that's not even all of them. There's still games like Henry Halfhead, Way to the Woods, Loose Leaf, Locomotive, Paper Trail, and even more on the way that we just didn't have time to cover. Hopefully we will in another video, so make sure to ring that bell and subscribe, and goodbye from us here at Logitech G.
There have been noise complaints.
Okay.